Good morning, all, and the video I am posting today is actual footage of what happens when a property seller vendor uses a criminally perjured squatter complaint to oust his property purchasers from their property. And in this case, both the property seller and the sheriffs knew they were doing this to a person, me, with an autism spectrum disorder diagnosis. So, first of all, Florida statute 943.1727, it's a Florida law that requires all law enforcement officers in the state of Florida to have mandatory autism spectrum disorder training. And from what happened when the squatter complaint was executed on us, it's very clear that these sheriff officers and the head sheriff of Bradford County, Florida, were not in compliance with Florida's mandatory autism spectrum disorder training law upon law enforcement officers. And the reason why is, as you can see in the video, first of all, they didn't want to see any of the paperwork that we were purchasers. And please see my very last video for a long documented video on why we were purchasers. We are the equitable owners of the property, and the seller is merely a bare title holder, constructive trustee, under the obligation to convey the deed and record the mortgage. In Florida, it's well established by Florida Supreme Court case law that a property seller vendor that can only oust a purchaser through the exclusive jurisdiction of the Florida Circuit Court in an ejectment action where title can be tried. So this squatter complaint had no jurisdiction whatsoever, according to Florida law. And the video that follows is exactly why these law enforcement officers need to comply with their mandatory autism spectrum disorder law enforcement training. You would never do this with a sudden surprise on an autistic person. Take away that person's medically prescribed autism therapy service and trauma horses, kill one of them intentionally, Gulliver, and take away all the person's breast cancer medication, driver's license, social security card, birth certificate, a Medicare card and insurance cards, and social security money card, walk the person out in underwear. And why did Florida pass this mandatory law enforcement autism spectrum disorder training law? Well, because other sheriffs in southern Florida shot a caregiver of an autistic person. And so we have this law, and as the following video clips of the actual footage of the end part of the squatter execution show, they were not in compliance with Florida's autism spectrum disorder training law. And not only that, I'll address this at the ending. What else did they violate? Tractors, the jumps, everything here, they're taking from us. They're taking all this from us. This is all adult autism supports. They're taking it all. They're taking it. They're taking everything, all my autism supports. They say they can do it.
Shut off the car.
Katie! Hazel! Taking all my autism horses away. They're taking my autism horses away. And they say they're not doing anything wrong.
They're taking them away. They're my only friends. I have profound autism. They're taking them. They're using a Florida squatter law to take autism horses away. They belong to my special needs trust. The special needs trust and my LLC are not on the complaint they're using to take them away. So it's like the trust doesn't get due process. I don't know if I'm ever going to see them again. My only friends. They're taking them away. They're taking them away. John Miller wrote in his newspaper that I own this property. And Thursday, it was around January 23rd, 2025. And he's putting me off the property and saying that I'm a squatter, even though he's given us papers and we've accepted him for purchase of this property. And they're taking the autism horses away. They're taking them away. And they provide my medical treatment, and they're taking them away. And they're taking them away. I don't even get to come back and feed them. I'm not allowed to trim their hoofs. We're in the middle of a hoof trimming schedule. They're taking them all away. They're taking them away. And they provide my medical treatment, and they're taking them away.
These horses and ponies are medically prescribed for my autism. And John Miller and the sheriffs knew it.
And they're taking them away. I don't even get to come back and feed them. I'm not allowed to trim their hoofs. We're in the middle of a hoof trimming schedule. They're taking them all away. They're taking them all away. I don't know how this is not autism. And they're sending us away with the 2-week-old baby kitties without the mom. They threw me out without my letrozole cancer medication for my breast cancer.
And walking me off the property without any identifications or medications commit. Here's the list. 18 U.S.C. Section 242 covers the seizure of the breast cancer medication, identification documents, and income by government actors. 42 U.S.C. Section 408, interference with Social Security benefits, the seizure of my Social Security money card by the sheriffs. 18 U.S.C. Section 245, interference with federally protected activities, interference with my receipt of Social Security benefits. So that's all for this video. I had uploaded all my videos up until April 15th, except for a section of videos I still have to upload from 2024. And this video was the next one by date. So this is what the wrongful execution of a squatter complaint with obvious lack of autism spectrum disorder law enforcement training in display looks like. And again, I'm going to caution all people in Florida thinking of purchasing property, maybe you better go to a different state until this law is repealed. Because property seller vendors can use it against you as a property purchaser to take everything that you've paid for to buy your property. It took away my breast cancer medication. I'm at risk of stage 4 cancer reoccurrence now. Thank you for watching.